That's superb. That's pretty good, isn't it? Well, there's really no understeer there at all.
No, it is good. Man, you're working those brakes, you can just feel it, can't you? When you think of Volvo, you probably think safe, boxy, a bit boring maybe. But Volvo has its own devoted and loyal performance-oriented owners, like Mike with his 850R and his P1800. And there's a strong racing history too. Yes, sometime last century, Mark Williamson used to race this S40 super touring car. Just between you and me, I think Mark's a bit of a Volvo fanboy, so just remember that when you're watching the rest of this review. Now, particularly when it comes to the Volvo four-wheel drive luxury XC wagons, or SUVs as we like to call them now. I have friends who just rave about the all-weather robustness and performance of their high-mileage turbo XC90s. It's weird how the XC90s are worth so little now on the used car market. They're actually really good value. Now, I reckon there's a swag of traditional Volvo devotees, being the socially aware people they are, who are considering going electric but don't fancy the wacky modern designs that shout, "Look at me, I'm electric." They don't want to make a song and dance about it. They just want a safe, performance EV that looks, well, like what you might call a normal car. If you're one of those people, this could be the car for you. Here's a car that doesn't shout about itself, and yet it's fully electric, all-wheel drive with heaps of performance. In March 2021, Volvo said that by 2030 it will only sell fully electric cars, not even hybrids. Volvo is taking electrification seriously. And this, the Volvo XC40 Recharge Fully Electric, is their first fully electric car. So it better be good to keep their loyal buyers happy.
Well, today I found an EV for you, Stu.
Oh yeah? It's just for me.
Surprise, just for you.
Because last week you called me an evangelist.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. That's the phrase I've coined for you. It's the XC40 Recharge Pure Electric, Stu, 2022 model. Pilot assist working on our multi-lane road here.
Oh yeah?
So the car's essentially steering itself. Of course, I've got to have a hand on the wheel, twin engine. Twin motor, should I say.
Motors, engines, they're the same to me. Okay.
So Formula One.
They like to
going to stop calling the things power units? It's an engine.
It's a motor.
There's two of them. 150 kilowatts each.
Really? One front, one back.
Yep.
Both exactly the same. 330 Newton meters each. Now here's a bit of a different black top, and suddenly we have tyre noise. Pirelli P0s, 20 inch
bit of road
rims.
noise through there, isn't it? I mean, clearly the car's not making any noise. That noise is coming through the tyres.
What's wrong with 18-inch wheels, honestly, and 50 profile tyres? Do we need... Because is this an off-road vehicle? Would you take this off-road?
I probably wouldn't. I don't know why you would. I mean, when you get 20-inch wheels and low-profile tyres off-road, it can get pretty expensive pretty quickly with rocks through tyres and so on. So it's really probably not advisable. Let's go back to conventional steering, Stu. I'd rather do it myself. I'm a bit old-fashioned.
Okay. Lane keeping aid, do we turn that off? Steering assist, off. You're the driver. I need to talk to you about the operating system. This is running something called Android Automotive OS, which is not the same as Android Auto. But it is good to have it integrated, and it's a fairly fast display. They don't give you a lot of range of settings. Like, what do you think of the regenerative braking function, for example?
It's either on or off. I would like to be able to vary that a little bit. Some other manufacturers, you can change that and you can scale that a little bit, which I kind of like.
Yep.
For me, that whole one pedal thing, that's slowing down too much.
Yep.
And you've got to then get back on the accelerator downhill, whereas I'd rather kind of just coast down, maybe with a bit of brake. Again, it's just something you modify your driving to.
Seats are good though.
So yeah, the ergonomics of the car are, I think, really nice. I do like the seats are good. I mean, Volvo do generally make pretty good seats in their cars.
Look, Volvo does blocky, whether it's outside or inside. Not a lot of concessions to the current fashion fads. They go, nah, we do chunky, we do blocky, we do a little bit stodgy. Okay, on the left, but you're in front.
All good?
Yep, yeah, you're good, yep. Okay. And whooshka, off it goes.
That goes pretty well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got plenty of mumbo. No problem there.
300 kilowatts. Any of these EVs, that's an impressive power delivery, isn't it?
Yep. Steering feel? Do you reckon it's okay?
Yeah, I've got those set on firm at the moment, and it's much better on firm. It's a little vague for me when it's on the standard setting. Certainly ride the bumps really nicely. That some pretty choppy road back there. You're not feeling that through the steering at all. So the dampening is very good.
Okay.
Even though we've got those very low profile tyres. But,
all right, smooth road, bends.
Now, some reviewers of this car said it was fast in a straight line, which it is, but that it was no fun at all in the twisty stuff and didn't like to be driven hard. Well, Mark sets the bar pretty high on these things, so why don't you decide after you've watched him crank it up a little bit?
Let's see how it handles, Stu.
All right, now you're hooked in.
Now you realise where you got low profile Pirellis on, right?
Yeah, okay. And we got some tyre squeal. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive, Stu. It's
Yep.
a little bit damp through there. So what we've lost with a little bit of road noise with those Pirellis, we've made up with grip.
Yep. Bit damp though.
A little bit damp.
Whoosh.
Yeah, impressive traction, Stu.
Yeah, that is fast. Oh yeah, that really does go.
Yeah. But just this smooth road. Car's superb. That's pretty good, isn't it? There's really no understeer there at all.
No, it is good. Man, you're working those brakes, you can just feel it, can't you?
Actually, we're talking about feel of steering.
Yep.
Now we've got that on firm. We've got some really nice bends there. The car's loaded up. The steering feels really good. It turns in nicely. It's very responsive. That's really the fun part of driving an EV, isn't it?
Smooth road.
Yeah.
It
doesn't look like it should do what it's what it's actually capable of doing. But I think you'd be driving it on firm the whole time. On its standard mode, it's just a little bit too soft and a bit wandery.
The novelty's worn off of that 600 plus Newton meters cars that we constantly get.
Yeah.
That you go, I can't be bothered. I'll just get the low powered one and get the slightly longer range, carry a little bit less weight.
When you think about it like that makes sense.
There are only two models for the Volvo, the Plus front-wheel drive single motor or the Ultimate all-wheel drive twin pure electric dual motor. On the other hand, it's not a huge price difference in this car between the two-wheel drive one coming out and the all-wheel drive. Why is it not as noisy now? I mean, this is a coarse mix and it's not as bad here as it was on the freeway. Have you just warmed up the tyres and they've gone all quiet?
I think so, yeah. We've got a little bit of heat in it now, I think.
We
were talking about the novelty factor of EVs wearing off, but when you drive it like this, it actually hasn't. A little bit of understeer there.
I thought it was I thought it was doing both. I thought you were drifting.
No, really impressive on that smooth road. It just turns in really nicely.
It does. During neutral, grips.
You know, great traction, all-wheel drive. Like that's pretty impressive through there, isn't it?
Very impressive.
The novelty is back.
Yep.
I'm enjoying it again now.
That impresses.
Yeah, so the question would, if you're buying an EV, do you go all-wheel drive for the fun factor of that, or you just go full-on economy and make it sensible with a two-wheel drive, you know,
I get the feeling most people are going to buy this car and not going to do it because of that capability.
That's right, yeah, they are.
But boy, yeah, not a lot could keep up with that up there. And in the last 3 minutes of driving, you've used 3% of your battery range.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's the price you pay.
Probably would have used that much of a tank of fuel. Well, there's a lot I like about it. I mean, I like the way it handles. I like the way it performs on that smooth road. It's much better than your standard SUV of this kind of size in terms of capability and handling, in my view, because of that low centre of gravity. So I like that. The fact that it's an EV really helps the dynamics in that regard. I like the fact that you can really sort of tune the car a little bit with the throttle in the corner, a little bit more than you could with the Ioniq 5, for instance.
Oh, I'm surprised.
So that's interesting, because I like the Ioniq 5. That was impressive.
Yep.
Whereas this one, you can just come in, you can lift off the throttle a little bit, it transfers a bit of weight to the front, which is really, really interesting. Because a lot of EVs don't do that. Now, this is probably the EV you have when you don't want people to know you're driving an EV.
Hey, look. There's Worthington BMW. They've got chargers there. That blue thing. And there's nobody parked there. And where's the charge port? Back left, isn't it?
Yep.
As you pointed out, 20-inch wheels.
Yeah, look, they look great. They're pretty noisy, aren't they? I mean, there's a lot of road noise from them. I'm not an SUV kind of guy, as you know, Stu, but I mean, as far as SUVs go, I quite like the design of it. I like the line of it.
They've deliberately made it body colored, so to say it's an electric car, but there wasn't any real need to do that.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with having a normal looking grille there.
Absolutely. They haven't gone, let's produce something that looks like a radical EV. I kind of like that. It looks like a normal car. Yeah.
Even though it's the new CMA chassis, there's a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder, there's a 2 litre turbo, there's a diesel.
That's right.
There's the T4 and the T5. There's a whole using the same chassis.
Correct. So the XC40's been around for a while, and they've essentially kept the same shape. What do we have? 78%, wasn't it? So we've got 5% for $1.10.
Our range has gone up 20 k's, basically 10 minutes driving on the freeway, for the sake of being here for half an hour. So that's not a very practical. 22 kilowatt chargers are just not going to cut it. Oh, hey Google. And what's the temperature?
The current temperature in the central mangrove is 59 degrees.
59 degrees? That's really hot.
That is very hot for the middle of winter.
Yeah. What's the temperature in centigrade?
The current temperature in the central mangrove is 15 degrees Celsius.
There we go. Look, it's fairly rudimentary and at least it's reasonably fast. But it's satellite info, route options, okay, the usual stuff. It's a Google Maps implementation, okay, I get it. The parallels between this and the Polestar, they started on the same platform and then they diverged. Polestar became a separate company. They're made in the same city in China.
So a brief word about Polestar. A little while ago I reviewed the Polestar II all-wheel drive with all the options. Pilot Pack, Plus Pack, Performance Pack. Their top-of-the-line EV, which is also doing quite well in the market now. If you haven't seen that review, well, you should. Here it is.
The notable difference is, of course, that one's a conventional-looking SUV and the other's a more contemporary liftback sedan. Most of the differences are cosmetic, but there are some dimension changes, even though they're on the same chassis. Side by side, the Volvo is obviously quite a lot taller, but it's also wider, shorter, with a shorter wheelbase, and has those 20-inch wheels instead of the 19s.
Now a lot of people ask, isn't Polestar just a rebadged Volvo? Well, yes and no. There's a lot in common. They're both part of the Chinese Geely group. The chassis and engineering is basically the same. They drive similarly, and both companies are also doing well because they've coped very well with the chip shortages, and they've got relatively short delivery times. They're both designed by the same guy, Thomas Ingenlath, but Volvo and Polestar are actually competitors in the marketplace, and they're trying hard to score brownie points over each other by variations in features, options and functionality. Typically Polestar starts cheaper, but bundles features in a number of option packs, whereas Volvo keeps it simple and says, no, we just give you everything up front. Polestar also has a performance track-focused pack with big gold brakes and fancy shocks, but Volvo says, no, we don't do bling like that. But one of them's just decided to switch their single-motor variant from front-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive, which you would think would be a major re-engineering change, but actually isn't. And the other one's then got FOMO and followed suit. So you'll find those single-motor variants will both be rear-wheel drive next year. If you're choosing between the two, have a good look at the Polestar's option packs, and make sure you check out all the technology and phone integration stuff with your own phone, because there are significant differences in the whole phone integration and technology side.
But you still get thrown back, don't you, with these EVs, is the way they accelerate.
Well, it's a 100k zone here, so see how we go overtaking. Overtaking people isn't really a problem.
I like the interior. It's not too out there. They've kept the Volvo ethos.
You find it a bit numb, like it's
a little vague. Certainly in standard mode, it's quite vague and it's not sharp at all. I like the weight. I mean, really, when you go firm, it just changes the weight of the wheel. That's all it does. It doesn't really make any sharper.
It doesn't give you more sense of positioning the car accurately. You move the front and then the back follows a little later. You get that little wiggle. Am I expecting too much to expect sports car steering?
Probably, yeah.
23.3 kilowatt hours per 100k is not great, but we did have some performance stuff.
Yeah, well
that's not going to get you home. Find the nearest charging station.
Here's what I found for electric vehicle charging stations.
Castle Hill's a bit far. This is using its own built-in version of Android Automotive operating system. This is not Android Auto. Android Auto is just where you've got your phone and it mirrors those functions and displays them on the screen. And that would be quite good because it's a vertical format like your phone is. But it doesn't support that, so you can't do that. But the Volvo now supports Apple CarPlay, so you can mirror your Apple phone. Although that was only implemented by over-the-air update in the days after we did our test drive, so we couldn't test that. When it comes to the technology, Volvo has decided their audience wants to keep things simple. Where the Polestar has 3 levels of regenerative braking, Volvo has just 2. For comparison, Hyundai have 5. Both cars weigh a pretty chunky 2.1 tonnes. They have 5-star ANCAP safety as you'd expect and need only the most basic maintenance every couple of years. Servicing really is not an issue. Warranty, 5 years unlimited kilometres for both, 8 years on the battery. Very good. But the Volvo does have a much wider service network using their traditional bricks and mortar dealers. Polestar service locations are far fewer, with only a few Volvo dealers prepared to provide service for the Polestar cars. Battery size and charging rate is similar, although Polestar claims a significant range advantage, 550 kilometres versus 450. I'm sceptical about that difference, and I think those WLTP figures are both very optimistic anyway. Suffice to say, they're both very good long-range vehicles. In other ways, they're both very similar. The voice command, the big pano sunroof, the premium Harman Kardon sound, all the safety stuff you'd expect from these cars, and of course the 360-degree top-down view that's very useful, particularly when parking. So it comes to price, and here once again they're targeting each other with a marginal win for the Volvo. But of course it depends which options you add. So really there's not much to pick between them, except the form factor you prefer. SUV or sedan, crossover, liftback, coupe, and of course your brand allegiance. Mark, the fanboy, likes the Volvo styling. But if I was to describe them, I'd say the Volvo was traditional and restrained, whereas the Polestar is contemporary, modern, rakish. But to each their own. Neither of these vehicles is super efficient in energy use though, especially when compared with offerings from Hyundai or Tesla. We did drive them a bit more vigorously than most people do, but even so, both used more than 20 kilowatt hours per 100k on our tests, which is not very frugal. But the issue there isn't really the cost of the electricity, it's more the effect on the range. With those numbers, they'll both struggle to get within 100 kilometres of their claimed range.
You know, I actually think this style of car, SUV style of car in EV format with the batteries down so low, does overcome a little bit of that inherent instability of the thing having such a high ride height and sitting so far off the ground. So for me that helps. Because it's one of the things I generally don't like about SUVs, the fact they're sitting up so high in the body roll. And so I like that attribute.
Very fast, 350 kilowatt fast charger at Seven Hills, mate, that'd be perfect. But then we're limited by the car. So it'll only charge at 150 and it won't do that continuously. It'll start and then it'll fall away. That's the way they're programmed, so as not to stress the battery and so on. Why is it so much quieter now than it was before? Taking the sharp edges off.
It does seem to be a bit quieter, doesn't it?
It actually does. Well, thank you, Mark. I've had fun today. Thanks for bringing this Volvo.
Yeah, I thought I'd just finally bring an EV for you to try out.
So that's our take on Volvo's first, of no doubt many, fully electric cars. We knew it would be very capable, and it was. But it was also quite fun to punt along briskly. So don't believe everything you hear or read. Go drive one yourself and make up your own mind. If the boxy styling doesn't appeal, you'd already know they followed up after this review with a much more stylish, but otherwise pretty much identical C40 sedan, which has a lower roofline, coupe styling, better aerodynamics, and about a 5% smaller greenhouse gas footprint than the XC40 over the entire lifetime of the car. Look, at the end of the day, it's a hugely capable, comfortable, luxurious, very fast 2-ton, smallish SUV, and it's much quicker than their fastest turbo petrol or diesel variants. I really doubt you'll be disappointed. Thanks for watching.
Oh hey, you made it right through to the end of the video. Congratulations. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please share it with your motoring friends. And above all, click the little subscribe thing down here so you can see the latest videos when we bring them out, hopefully each week. I look forward to seeing you soon.